What if I told you that the absolute biggest hurdle standing right there between you and your true potential isn't a lack of talent, it isn't a lack of opportunity either, and it definitely isn't your past failures? I really want you to stop and think about this for a second. What if the real thing stopping you is just fear? Just the fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, or, let's be honest, the fear of what other people might think? Well, in today's explainer, we are going on a bit of a mission together. Our main goal here is to fundamentally shift our relationship with fear so that it literally stops deciding our future. Because, as we'll see, fear is often just a shadow. So let's figure out how to break out of that invisible prison, stop letting it control our decisions, and finally unlock that potential. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. The shadow of fear. 2. Starving the fire. 3. Stories we tell ourselves. 4. You are not your fear. 5. Escaping the invisible prison. And finally, number 6. Action is the answer. Let's dive right in.
Okay, Section 1, the shadow of fear. Fear is bigger in your mind than in reality.
Picture this. You're walking down the street at night, right? And there's this giant, terrifying shadow of some monster projected up on a brick wall. But then you look closer, and the reality creating it is literally just a tiny, harmless tree branch. It's just a stick. Well, fear works the exact same way. Our minds take this basic, everyday uncertainty and instantly project it into a total, absolute disaster. We end up fighting a future that only actually exists inside our own heads. So how do we shrink that monster back down into a twig? We turn on the light of awareness. The very next time you feel that panic creeping in, just ask yourself these 3 things. 1, what am I actually afraid of here? 2, is this based on hard facts, or am I just making assumptions? And 3, what is the worst realistic outcome? Not the disaster outcome, the realistic one. Do this, and you'll almost always discover that the actual object of your fear is incredibly small. Moving on to Section 2, starving the fire. Stop feeding fear with your attention. Let's imagine 2 people facing the exact same opportunity. Let's say, learning a new language. Person A focuses entirely on what could go wrong. They're thinking, oh man, what if I sound foolish? What if people judge my accent? Their attention is literally acting like a magnifying glass, and so the fear just grows. Now, person B, they feel that exact same fear, but they focus on the very next step. They think, okay, what can I learn today? How do I practice? Because they're focusing on the action, their courage is what grows. And this brings up a absolutely crucial distinction. Preparation is useful, obsession is destructive. Think of fear like a campfire. If you leave a small fire alone, it just kind of stays small, right? But every negative assumption, every single hour you spend overthinking, it's like picking up another log and throwing it right onto that fire. If you actually want to put the fire out, you don't fight the flames directly. You just stop feeding it. All right, Section 3, stories we tell ourselves. Fear is a projection of the mind. We've all been here before. Here's an event. Someone ignores your text message. Now, look at how we can interpret that. Interpretation 1 is, oh, they're probably just busy, which, leads to peace of mind. But interpretation 2 is, they don't like me, which instantly creates this wave of anxiety and fear. Look, the event itself didn't change at all. The only thing that changed was the meaning we decided to give it. We are literally the ones manufacturing our own emotional response. To break this down a bit more, you just have to remember 3 little tricks of mind projection. First, thoughts are not facts. Treat them like clouds passing by in the sky. You definitely don't have to chase every single one. Second, strong desires create attachment fear. So the more desperately we want someone's approval, the more terrified we are of their criticism. And third, our interpretations naturally just love to assume the worst possible conclusion. But hey, once you recognize these tricks, you take all your power back. Which leads us to Section 4. You are not your fear. Don't identify with fear. There is a massive, and I mean massive, psychological difference between these 2 internal statements. When you tell yourself, I am weak and afraid, you're making fear your actual identity. It becomes this heavy, permanent label. But if you just shift your internal dialogue to observation, saying something like, I notice fear in doubt right now, you instantly create psychological distance. You're acknowledging the feeling, sure, but you are not letting it define who you are. Think of it kind of like this. Fear is just a visitor. It is not a permanent resident. It's a lot like the weather, honestly. Some days are beautifully sunny, some days are dark and stormy. But the sky itself, the sky never actually changes. You are the sky.
Fear is just a passing storm rolling through your mind. It might be loud, it might be super uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, it is not you. Section 5. Escaping the invisible prison. Stop building your life around fear. The thing about fear is that it's incredibly sneaky. It rarely jumps out and announces itself as a threat. Instead, it puts on a disguise. It disguises itself as logic. It whispers in your ear that you're just being realistic. It convinces you that you just need to wait for the perfect conditions, which, spoiler alert, are never going to arrive. And bit by bit, it shrinks your world. You start avoiding new opportunities, dodging relationships, and hiding from challenges just to stay comfortable. And suddenly, you're trapped behind invisible walls. And here's the true cost of that prison: regret from inaction versus strength from failure. See, fear desperately wants to convince you that failure is the ultimate enemy, but that's just not true. Failure teaches us lessons, it builds real strength. The actual enemy here is regret. It's those agonizing, decades-long questions of, man, what if I had just tried? You absolutely do not want to reach the end of your life and realize that fear was the one making all your biggest decisions. And that brings us to our final part. Section 6, action is the answer. Do what is necessary, despite fear. We really need to redefine courage today. Courage is taking action despite the presence of fear, rather than waiting for the absence of it. If you sit around waiting to feel completely 100% fearless before you start that business or learn that new skill, you are going to be waiting forever. Just think of a firefighter running into a burning building. Do you think they aren't scared? They are terrified, but they take action anyway because their purpose is stronger than their panic. So how do we actually apply this right now? It's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, just feel the fear. Step 2, acknowledge it. Tell yourself, hey, I notice the fear is here. And step 3, move forward anyway. Repeated action creates momentum. Every single time you act despite being afraid, you are collecting hard evidence that you can handle tough challenges. I mean, the first time you try to speak a new language, it's terrifying, right? But the 100th time, it's totally normal. Action is the only thing that makes fear disappear. I want you to take this daily mantra and just completely lock it into your brain. I will do what is necessary despite fear. Try saying this to yourself every single morning. Do not wait for the perfect conditions. Do not wait until you have complete confidence. Let this quote be the hammer that breaks you right out of that invisible prison. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty profound question, and I want you to really think about it. What would courage have you do today? The life you actually want is sitting right there, just on the other side of that shadow. So please, don't let fear decide your future. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this empowers you to go out there and take that next brave step.